In this video, I'm going to discuss about the function of a bad knock sensor, what causes it to fail, symptoms you should pay attention to, and damages that can occur if you don't replace the knock sensor. The knock sensor is basically a listening device, and its main purpose is to listen for abnormal noises coming from the engine block. For example, the engine is going to listen for knocking noise, it's going to listen for thumping noise, it's going to listen for rattling noise coming from the engine that are caused by spark knock, detonation, and pinging. When these noises occur caused by spark knock, detonation, and pinging, the engine control module is going to adjust timing. It's either going to retard timing or advance it. By adjusting timing, this is going to prevent engine damage, which I will discuss later in the video. The knock sensor is usually mounted somewhere on the side of the engine block, or it's going to be mounted on the top end of the engine block. If you have a 4-cylinder engine, most likely you're only going to have one knock sensor, which is for bank 1. And if you have a 6-cylinder engine, most likely you're going to have 2 knock sensors. One is going to be for bank 1, and the second one is going to be for bank 2. In most cases, it is difficult to locate the knock sensor because it's always hidden. Usually, if it's on top of the engine block, it's going to be buried underneath the intake manifold, or it's mounted on the side of the engine block. Sometimes it's going to be covered by a starter or an engine mount or something. So let's discuss what are the symptoms of a bad knock sensor. Well, the first symptom you're going to notice is going to be the check engine light turning on, and you're going to get some sort of knock sensor code. You're either going to get a code for a wire issue such as circuit code, or you're going to get a knock sensor code that's either going to be bank 1 or bank 2. So when you are getting knock sensor code, most likely you're going to experience some sort of symptom. For example, you're going to notice weak acceleration. You're going to notice poor acceleration, especially when you're taking off from a stop light or a stop sign. You're going to feel like it kind of hesitate when you're stepping on a gas pedal. So when you're getting that check engine light and those knock sensor code and weak acceleration, there's a very high chance that it's time to replace the knock sensor. The next symptom you're going to notice is going to be rough idle. If the computer cannot adjust timing due to a bad knock sensor, you're going to feel the engine is going to run a little bit rough at idle. If the engine cannot run efficient due to a bad knock sensor, you're also going to notice poor gas mileage. And if the engine completely fell, you're going to hear a knocking noise. The knocking noise is not going to be loud like a rod knock that sounds kind of like a striking noise. It's going to sound more kind of like a faint knocking noise. So basically that's going to be spark knock. So here's the closest sound. It sounds very similar like this. When you step on the gas pedal, it becomes even louder. And when it's at idle, it sounds like this. The noise, from my experience, is not consistent at all. It's going to sound like it's going fast and kind of slow, kind of fast and kind of slow. There are a lot of reasons why knock sensor fell, and the most common cause is just going to be normal wear and tear. If you have high mileage, there's a good chance the knock sensor is going to fail. The next most common reason why knock sensor fell is going to be a wire issue or connection issue. Since the knock sensor is mounted on the engine block, the wires are always exposed to engine heat. Engine heat will cause the knock sensor wires and the connection to become brittle and break. The next most common reason why knock sensor fell is going to be water damage. Water damage is either going to be caused by condensation, or there's going to be some sort of coolant leak in the cooling system. And the next most common reason is going to be damage caused by rodents. Especially when the knock sensor is buried underneath the intake manifold, rodents like to build a nest in there and make a home in there. So when the rodents are in there, it likes to chew up every single wires that's in the engine bay. So here's an example of an engine I worked on. This is for a Chevy. As you can see, there are literally rodent droppings everywhere. So I know rodents have been in there. If you have a knock sensor issue and you don't replace it, and you keep getting the spark knock, detonation, and pinging, this will cause engine damage in the long run. For example, this can cause damage to your intake and exhaust valves. It can cause your spark plug to melt, It can cause damage to your piston head. It can cause the piston rings to crack. It can cause the rod bearings to fail, and it can also cause the piston rod to bend as well. I hope you found this video useful. As always, thank you for watching. Subscribe to Top 5 Auto Repairs.